All right, welcome everybody. Thank you all for joining us this morning or this evening, and depending on where you are. Welcome to the Joint Counter Small Unmanned Aircraft Systems Office Semi-Annual Demonstration. This is the second semi-annual demonstration. This is a request for white papers forum where we'll discuss what you'll be submitting in order to participate in our second semi-annual demonstration. Thank you for logging in. We go to the second slide. So just for everyone's awareness, this meeting is unclassified and at distribution A, so please be careful about what you discuss online. This is primarily for our industry partners and government folks, federal employees. We request that if you have specific questions for the JCO that you reserve those for us through another channel. Today, for our agenda, we are going to talk about the rules of engagement for this conference. There's going to be a welcome from Colonel Solay. Colonel Morgan is going to address the JROCM requirements. Charles Logan, that's myself, will review the requirements that are in the RFWP. Mr. Adam Martin will discuss the demonstration event itself, and then we'll enter a question and answer session. And then following that, at the end, we will close with Colonel Solay giving his closing remarks. So for rules of engagement, my name is Charles Logan. I'm the Technology Planning Lead for the Joint Counter UAS Office. As you log into this, request that you either use your computer audio or the phone, but not both, just to prevent any feedback loops. If we do have issues with sound, we will mute all participants, and then you'll have to unmute yourself if you are going to use the audio device to communicate with us. I believe the key sequence might be *6, but I think it should tell you that on your phone. If we continue to get hot mics and we can't keep them muted, we will mute, kick the participant from the meeting engagement. Also, in this session, there'll be a Q&A button to ask questions. We did receive a number of questions online, and we will go through those first during the Q&A session, and then we'll go in order answering those questions that are provided live during this session. Also, if we are answering your question and you have some clarifying remarks or a follow-on question to that question, please use the audio and we'll interact live, but then return again to the Q&A list of questions. Again, please keep all outstations on mute during the Q&A session and all the way through the presentation material, as we go through the presentation material. And then if you have any additional questions that you would like to ask, please use the email address provided here, and we will respond to your question. All right, with that, I would like to turn over to Colonel Greg Solay.
Hey, thanks, Charlie. Are we advancing slides, or are we just seeing a lag on the other end?
There is often a lag, but it should be, yeah, you might see a lag, sir, but I would just go ahead and go forward, and I'll stay with your voiceover.
Okay, and we can certainly get the slides out to folks. But good afternoon, or good morning again, or afternoon, depending on where you're at, as Charlie mentioned, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Colonel Greg Solay, and I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and also the great work that many of you have done providing rapid solutions that have allowed us to keep pace with this counter small UAS and so many other threats. On behalf of Major General Gainey, the Director for the Joint Counter Small UAS Office, or JCO, and Lieutenant General Thurgood, Director of the Rapid Capabilities and Critical Technologies Office, or RICO, I look forward to discussing today how you can help us with our next focus areas for counter small U.S. requirements. Next slide, please, Charlie. So just to set a common understanding and shared visualization up front for everybody, as the UAS threat rapidly evolved, the DoD adopted an approach that pursued immediate counter small U.S. material solutions. The services independently purchased available counter small U.S. capabilities through the Joint Operational Needs process, acquiring a mix of government and commercial solutions. The DoD recognized these efforts were not leading to a viable long-term solution because we were not synchronized across the joint force in terms of acquisition, training, and sustainment. As a result of these challenges and the growing threat, in November of 2019, the SecDef, Secretary of Defense, designated the Secretary of the Army as the DoD's executive agent for counter small UAS. In that capacity, the Secretary of the Army then stood up the JCO to lead and direct counter small U.S. efforts across the department. Army senior leadership directed the RICTO to operate as the lead counter small U.S. material and acquisition element in support of the JCO. Broadly, the JCO is responsible for working closely with the services to establish how DoD will employ joint operations with the required policy, material solutions, doctrine, and training to provide joint integrated capabilities that are needed to counter current and future small U.S. threats. I lead the Acquisition and Resources Division within the JCO, providing that direct acquisition support to Major General Gainey. My team, with close coordination and support from the services, is planning and executing this second in a series of semi-annual events where we want industry to come show us their products that help solve our capability gap focus areas. We've heard from numerous industry partners that they are ready to show us what counter small U.S. capabilities they've developed or improved using IRAD dollars. So here's your chance. We wanted to provide that opportunity on a recurring basis and intend to provide these on a semi-annual basis, each with its own focus area. In April, we ran our first one. It was in coordination with the Air Force as service lead, and the focus area was low collateral effects interceptors. The next event in September is focused on low-cost, ground-based aerial denial and handheld or dismounted solutions. A service will be designated service lead and determine the path forward towards the best solution set to make available for procurement across all services. Before I pass it off to Colonel Dave Morgan from the JCO Requirements and Capabilities Division, I'd like to ask if Mr. Leland Browning, the Deputy Director for General Gainey at the JCO, were you able to join us today? And did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, thanks, appreciate it. I'm glad that we've got a robust amount of people basically that are interested in this. Greg, you're doing a great job basically, so I'm going to turn it back over to you to move forward.
Thank you, sir. And likewise, the Deputy Director for the RICTO, Mr. Stan Darrow. Anything from you, sir?
Thanks, Sarah. I just want to thank everybody. I know your schedules are busy, and everybody taking time off to come join us and help us with an important capability. That means a lot, and we really appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to engagements with you. That's all I have. Thank you. Back over to you, Colonel Solay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Colonel Dave Morgan from the JCO Requirements Capabilities Division.
Hey, thanks, Greg. Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Colonel Dave Morgan, the incoming Division Chief for the Requirements and Capabilities Division of the JCO. I'm going to provide you an overview on the Joint Operational Requirements, which are outlined in the Joint Requirements Oversight Council Memorandum, or JROCM 078-20, which is a first-of-its-kind document intended to provide strategic direction to the Department of Defense for counter small UAS capability development, and was signed by the Vice Chairman on the 28th of September 2020. Now, our intent for the document was to be sort of a living and breathing document that would be reviewed every 18 to 24 months to maintain relevance and pace with the technologies, and I'm sure this group can appreciate that. However, just like Charlie mentioned earlier, because of the classification of that document, which is secret, we'll ask that our industry partners work through the normal acquisition channels to gain access to it. Otherwise, what I'm going to provide you here is really sort of strategic, sort of top-level description of those requirements. So as part of the effort to develop the Joint Operational Requirements, we worked across all of the services, the combatant commands, and agencies to include organizations like DITRA, DDS, and DISA to develop the operational requirements that provided the greatest amount of flexibility to accomplish three sort of general things. One was we wanted to codify existing requirements as we transition capabilities away from the joint, urgent, and emergent capability needs constructs. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that. And the second one, which is probably more applicable to this group, was that we also wanted to provide industry with guidance on where the Department of Defense was going, which we see as sort of a twofold. One, provide incremental improvements to close existing and future capability gaps for those down-selected systems. And then two would be to enable future prototyping and fielding efforts to bring revolutionary material solutions to bear. And I think this one is sort of a focal point for us. Finally, the third goal of the operational requirements was to provide overarching capability requirements for future capability development efforts and for service CDDs to point back to as they continue to develop capabilities needed to enable their missions in their respective domains. Now, the requirements were structured in a base document with three annexes for fixed, semi-fixed. The second one was mobile, and the third is the dismounted modalities. Now, the base document identified the requirements that are applicable across all modalities, and while the annexes outline specific requirements to enable the creation of a family of systems for each modality. And we structured the requirements into 6 primary bins that are depicted there in the blue box on the left. Command and control, or C2, really serves as the enabling capability for our efforts, and was the critical portion of the base document where we built in a requirement for modular open system architecture to enable integration and interoperability of future material solutions by requiring data conformity through shared interoperability standards. We expect that our interoperable C2 path will enable the componentization of detect, track, ID, defeat, and exploit capabilities by enabling plug-and-play components to establish a tailorable defense design and to rapidly integrate new technologies. Now, over in the box on the right, early on, it was quickly identified that focusing on the low, slow, and small UAVs would be a potential issue. So we made a conscious decision to include Group 3 to ensure we did not inadvertently create a scene within our formation. In essence, we wanted to make sure that there was no daylight between the beginning of short-range air defense capabilities and the end of the counter-small UAS capabilities. We wrote the requirements that are intended to leverage advances in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and to increase the speed and accuracy of system orientation, reduce operator load or burden, and increase operator engagement decision space. All in an environment where the need to maintain pace with technology advancements in all domains while accounting for changing adversary employment techniques such as singles, multiples, or swarming. And again, you can see that on the slide there. We wrote in requirements to make the systems increasingly more intuitive with the aim of developing systems that are agnostic of soldier, sailor, airman, or Marines military occupation. Finally, we wanted to enable training at the lowest level, so we established a requirements pathway to support the development of training aids, simulators, and devices, many of which should be organic to the particular material solution. So like I said, that is sort of way top level because of the classification of the forum here. If you get with our team, we can make the actual JROCM available to you. But subject to any questions, that's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Colonel Morgan. This is Charlie Logan. So I'm going to take a moment to give you an overview of the request for white papers requirements. So for this upcoming demonstration, we're going to focus on 2 areas. Those areas are low-cost ground-launched aerial denial, and the second area is on handheld. Those don't necessarily have to be independent, but they can be for the submissions of white papers. For low-cost ground-launched aerial denial, for the first phase, for white papers, we're going to choose up to 10 systems. Our target is to have the cost per engagement to be under $15,000. And as you might imagine, that is to keep it in line with the cost of the UAV that we would be engaging in terms of those system costs. And as was mentioned earlier, we are looking at groups 1, 2, and 3. Also, this low-cost ground-launched aerial denial system is not to be an in-flight guided interceptor, but something that is launched and independently intercepts from the ground. It is also not an RF-based effector, so we're not looking for any electronic warfare systems. For C2, we are expecting for the white paper C2 integration way ahead for phase 1. And by the time we get to demonstration, we have an expectation that there will be C2 integration available in that system for demonstration. For the handheld, dismounted, or man-packable systems, again, we're looking for systems up to 10 and no more that we'll be selecting from. We are looking for the cost of that system to be under $37,000. The man-packable system should be under 24 pounds. And C2 integration is optional. It's not necessarily required for that system. For demonstration, there will be, once we've selected up to 10 systems for each of those categories, we will then have oral presentations that are provided to the selection team, where you'll have 40 minutes to present and 10 minutes for question and answer. And we will choose up to 10 systems for demonstration. Those could be any combination of those two categories, either low-cost ground-launched aerial denial or a handheld dismounted man-packable. So it could be 5 and 5 or 6 and 4, something along those lines. We expect the system by demonstration time to be at a TRL 6 or above. And we've provided a link there if you need more information on what that is, or please contact us to get a better understanding. Also, we expect you to meet the Joint Requirements Oversight Council Memorandum, the JROCM that was discussed earlier, that you would meet the requirements that are called out or specified in the JROCM. And as was mentioned, if you need assistance in obtaining that document, please contact us at the email address provided within this presentation. The range that we will be testing at is Yuma Proving Grounds. And there'll be more information about that here in the upcoming slides. Moving on to the next slide, a little bit about the schedule. So we released the RFWP last Friday, the 7th of May, on betasam.gov. So please go there if you have not already and download that PDF to understand what the requirements are for participating in this demonstration. Today we're doing the Industry Day to answer all your questions on that RFWP. Your white paper responses are expected to be submitted no later than the 28th of May by 1600 Eastern Daylight Time. And we've provided the address there. It is also in the RFWP. On the 11th of June, we will have the companies that are selected for presentations. We will notify which ones those are. We'll have up to 20 companies selected from the white papers that are submitted. And on the 14th through the 18th, we will have those oral presentations and make a selection, a down selection of those down to 10. Also on the 14th, we're expecting all your range documentation in order to get that started with the range that we'll be testing at. And that also includes safety and some other range documentation, and all that will be communicated to you when you're notified. On the 22nd of June, we will notify the companies that have been selected, which will be up to 10 companies for demonstration in September. And we'll provide that specific date to those companies at the appropriate time. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Adam Martin, who will talk about the demonstration and participation requirements.
Thank you, Charlie. Going on to the next slide. So for what we're looking for in your white papers, first off, start off with like a detailed concept of operations and system architecture. Basically, what your system is, what it looks like, how it works, and how you intend for the soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen to use it in an operational context. Next, again, with that, following on to that, how you plan on defeating your groups 1 through 3, your standard COTS UAS systems, everything from the ones that you buy at the hobby store all the way up through your standard, again, off the shelf. This isn't anything that we're not looking for defeat the very high-end whiz-bang systems that are out there being developed, but just your commercially available systems right now. Next, we also want to see how you plan to detect, track, and classify each system. However, I will say that you will be required to use our command and control system. We will provide you with the feed for with the feed to state the system to state the threat's real-time location. But anything else from there is going to be on you. We need to know the physical laydown of the system, basically what the footprint is, what it's going to look like in terms of your operational needs, in terms of how big the system is, how you plan on supporting it, that sort of thing. And the proximity of the systems, the operators, to the actual system within the to the system under operation. Again, where we're going to test that, there's a 500-meter standoff between where personnel can be and where systems can fly overhead. So again, please keep that in mind. It's a limitation based on the safety concerns of our range. And finally, for this, again, as we mentioned, any documentation to support what you're going to need to be able to integrate our command and control system into your system. We will work. We don't expect you necessarily to have this ready to go on the 14th, but again, you will need it for our demonstration. We basically need, at the very least, a roadmap of how you're going to get from where you are to full integration with our system. Go to the next slide. Okay, so what we're going to be looking for, actually, if you're selected out on the test range. We're going to expect you to fully support your system. If you need something like power or fuel, we can help you out with that. But in terms of spares, operators, that sort of thing, it's going to be on you. As Charlie mentioned, we're required to submit any JF-12s or 1494s. The JF-12 just being the signed version of the 1494 with your white paper on the 14th. Again, this is so we can start the process a little bit. We've kind of worked the deal with the test site. They'll do what they can to fast track it, and that's about as soon as we can. That's the major long pole in the tent as far as documentation is concerned. And again, once we take a look at your white papers, we'll also you're starting to ask you for safety documentation that we're going to need in terms of how your system operates, so we can get approval to actually operate your system. From there, again. The vendor is required to demonstrate performance against our government-selected threats and profiles. So again, once you're selected, we'll have a plan to you probably about at least a month out. Hopefully before then. But basically, you're going to be given an area to defend, and we'll have ingressing and crossing profiles and a few others potentially to take a look at. That you're going to have to defeat. But again, we will provide the targets. Again, they will be in the group. They will be in the group 1, group 2 area. But and again, you'll be expected to defeat them. So again, moving on, we'll also need to we'll also have to work with you to get the range approval for safety of flight. Again, Most of that should be submitted with your white paper. We'll work with you, but there will probably be a lot of back and forth and continued coordination moving on with what we're going to need to see depending on your specific solution. And again, once we get to the demonstration line, you know, our plan for the event is we're going to have a week's worth of setup and then 2 weeks worth of testing. And we're going to expect you to be fully ready to go when you hit there. Again, you know, we understand there's going to be some calibration and coordination, calibration type flights and that sort of thing, especially if you're coming from other parts of the world. But once you show up at the range, this is not a developmental exercise. This is a, you know, this is your chance to impress us. Going on to the next slide then. Participant information. Specific dates, we'll communicate that with you. Again, once you're chosen. As I said before, the detailed schedule and plans, that'll be given to you about a month out. This demonstration is occurring in an open environment. It's a somewhat austere environment in terms of creature comforts. I can tell you it's about an hour away from anything resembling civilization, and that includes a cell signal. We will provide generator power, so that's 110 volt, 60 hertz, but again, it's not necessarily the cleanest power. As far as the data goes, we will be collecting your data for our evaluation pretty much every day, depending on how it works out. We'll probably basically be giving you a hard drive. We're going to expect you to go populate with your data, and once at the end of the event, once we get everything approved and the test report signed off on, we will give you back all the data we collect on your system. That is to say that if, again, obviously you're going to be out there with you know, potentially 9 competitors. We will not share any systems data with outside of the government for any other system that's not your system. If that makes sense. Apologize for stepping over myself a little bit there, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, things to consider. Again, it's again, like I said, it's a pretty austere environment, so be prepared for that. So, Charlie.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adam. All right, so now we're going to enter our question and answer time. We did receive a number of questions through our email. And so we're going to start with those, and then we'll move to the questions, answering them live as you post them in the Q&A function on this system. All right. Kathy, would you mind to read the questions for us, and then we'll direct to a person who will answer.
I'd be happy to. We'll go ahead and get started. The first question is, what frequency range has to be detected and countermeasured by the desired solution? This appears to be a requirements question. Colonel Morgan, are you still on the line? Would you like to take that one, please?
I am. Yeah, so I had a discussion with some of our folks. So this sort of gets into the classification issue. There are specific frequencies that are identified in the JROCM, but I can generally say that what we're looking for are frequencies authorized by the FCC for use for COTS UAS. So Wi-Fi, GPS, those sort of things, and include like RIMLEC, Fatobi, GLONASS, and other similar use frequencies, and then also potentially out to 5G. So I think that's about the level that we can discuss it in this forum. Again, when we look into the JROCM itself, there's some actual frequency ranges in there.
Okay, thank you, Colonel Morgan. We'll move on to the next question. Does DoD require only a handheld low-cost solution, or also a fixed installed system with higher capabilities? Charlie, would you like to answer that one, please?
Okay, so we have 2 categories, as we mentioned earlier. So for the manned portable systems, we're only looking for manned portable. We're not looking for fixed site. But for the ground launched systems, those can be fixed site. So if that doesn't quite answer your question, please restate it. But For the man portable, we are not looking for fixed site solutions.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. The next question is, if the product that can proposed has a higher price point than the suggested prices in the beta SAM posting, does that preclude us from participating and offering our product? Charlie?
So the answer is no. You can always submit your white paper. We'll be happy to receive it, but it will be a factor. What we are looking for, of course, is value. So depending on what the price is and what its capability is, it may be considered. But that is certainly the target that we're looking for, and are looking for solutions that are under that price point.
Okay, thank you. The next question pertains to the comment that the total systems selected for demonstration will not exceed 10 systems. The question is this 10 systems per technology area or 5 systems per technology area?
So the total number of systems that we'll be testing during the 2 weeks of demonstration will be 10 in total. So it can be any combination of those two categories, and it won't exceed 10, so it could be less than 10 as well. So we're looking for no more than 10 systems in total.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, if a vendor has a very effective microwave solution that is classified, is there another channel to get the information to the JCO for potential solution for consideration?
So for the initial submission for white papers, we are looking for unclassified as stated in the RFWP. So please provide an unclassified white paper to us. Once we get to oral presentations, if you have a more detailed classified presentation, we can work those details. But for the initial submission, we're looking for unclassified white papers. Okay. The next question is, what existing OTA consortium under the provisions of Title 10 U.S. Code is the JCO intending to use, or will this be via a new consortium? Mr. Kemp, our KO, is with us. Would you answer that one, please?
So that would depend on which contractor is doing it. The overall acquisition strategy for that is dependent on the specific contractor. There's no consortium or overall effort this would go under. It would depend on each individual effort. And that'll be made at the determination made at the time if we make any awards.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, who is the point of contact to submit the DD Form 1494? If the data is ready to prepare and send this application for equipment frequency allocation now. The concern is that 14 June 21 will be cutting it close to be able to conduct range operations in September. Adam, would you like to take that one, please?
Yeah, so again, as we said, the 1494s will be submitted with your white papers on, again, submit it through that portal as well. Just again, have it, an additional file when you send in your send in your white paper. As far as the time frame, again, we've worked closely with the test site, and again, they kind of know they know our timeline, and they're good to go with it. They will work with us if they have they are willing to basically do what's needed to make our timeline. We've actually, for the previous demo, we actually did have a somewhat tighter timeline than this, and we made it work. So it should be pretty straightforward from there. But again, I'm going to say that is going to be critical, and if you don't have it in on time, that may be grounds to disqualify a potential solution. And again, same goes with other safety documentation, although that's not quite as rigid of a timeline. But again, we're gonna, if we ask you a question based on your white paper, it's going to need to be answered in your oral presentation.
Okay, thank you. The next question is the $37,000 price at production quantities for the dismounted solutions requirement a war stopper? Charlie?
So as we mentioned earlier, that is our target price per system, per solution. But of course, what we're going to look at is overall value. So even if your system is more than 37,000, please feel free to submit it. But it will certainly be a factor that we will look at in determining which ones that we will consider for demonstration.
Okay. The next question is, when will phase 2 invitations be given out?
Okay, so we provided that timeline, phase 2. The selection app for the white papers, the notification will go out on the 11th of June. So that's when you should receive that notification.
And how long from phase 2 invitations until orals occur?
Okay, so you'll be notified again on 11 June, and the oral presentations will be on the 14th through the 18th. So just a few days until presentations begin.
So given when your presentation is anywhere between 3 to 8 days.
Yes.
And the next question is, which AOR are the solutions expected to primarily operate?
So again, as I mentioned, it's going to be the demo is going to occur in a relatively austere environment, relatively desert environment. We're looking for systems that can operate in just about any realistic environment that forces may be deployed into.
Okay, thank you. The next question is electronic warfare allowed for the handheld space?
Yes, the answer is yes. We are looking. In fact, I would expect that that may be the larger number of submissions will be in the electronic warfare space for the handhelds.
Thank you. Will it be required that prospective capabilities already be integrated with a C2 system for the demo event? And if so, will Fad C2 be required?
Short answer is yes, Fad C2 will be required. Yeah, we will be requiring you to integrate with our command and control system.
Okay. Thank you. The next question is, will the government tailor the demo scope in any way to fit the capability ranges of proposed capabilities?
Yes. Again, if if everybody that shows up we're looking at, starting our detection range out at, 4 kilometers, and everybody out is not going to be able to engage until 2 kilometers, we'll bring that in as an example. Okay. The next question is the government still interested in a proposed capability for this demonstration round if, due to technical readiness, it is unable to operate in rain or other inclement weather at the time of the demo? Yes, we'll take a look at it, but again, this is not a developmental effort. But again, we definitely would like to take a look at your system then. Especially, and if you have a path forward to correct those deficiencies, even if they're not going to be ready in time for the demo, we'd still want to take a look at your system.
And again, we are looking for TRL 6 and above. So it is not production level, but we are looking for something that is in a reasonable, demonstratable condition.
Thank you. Can the government provide any insight into future demo event capability focus areas and timelines?
Yeah, so we'll continue to adjust what those focus areas are over time. And as was mentioned earlier by Colonel Morgan, there are capability focus areas that we will have and continue to evolve as the threat evolves. So we don't have those to publish and describe to you today, but those will be available as we go to issue each RFI. For further discussion on that, we can have, if you would submit any specific questions you might have to our email address, and or if you have capabilities that you would like to share with the JCO, please submit those to that email address, and we can have further discussion.
And again, for the demos, we're looking to do these every 6 months, once in the, usually probably going to be defaulting to the March timeframe and the September timeframe as well, following this similar type cadence.
And as you will have noticed, you know, for the first demonstration, we did only look at one focus area to get us started, and now we're looking at 2, and we expect that we will keep the scope a little bit broader in order to make sure that we're getting around to all the needed areas that we have in the DoD. So just be paying attention as we post our requests for white papers in the future. And as I said, please engage in conversation if you have any questions or concerns. All right, so now we're going to move to the live questions that are online.
All right, the first question that came through live is your PowerPoint. Will the PowerPoint be available after the session?
Can we post it to the announcement? We talked about doing, so we'll post it to Beta Sam this week.
Okay.
All right. The second question is regarding the OTA or consortium. That one was already answered. We'll move to the next. The POC for submission of 1494s, that was answered. The 37,000 target price for dismounted or handheld solution, we answered that one. Will slides be posted to a site for access? I think we just answered that. It's going to be.
It'll be posted this week to the Beta Sam announcement, the same announcement as as an attachment.
Is it possible to get a copy of the slides? I think we just answered that. Can a laser system be LCG LAD solution? I'm not sure I understand that question. Anybody?
You know.
Can a laser system be low cost? That's going to be low cost.
I believe it's low cost
Ground
launch aerial denial solution. And I would say yes. We are going to have some issues with range safety limitations on how powerful of a laser system we can do. But again, if you've got that system, please submit it.
All right.
Okay.
Please provide any additional information on what C2 integration means. Are there specific systems that are expected to be integrated with our solution?
Again, right now we're looking at Fad C2.
Will today's slide be posted on sam.gov? Yes, we've entered that. Thank you. When will the government select threat profiles and designated areas to be outlined? Refer to slide 13. Will these be designed once the selected 10 systems have been selected and capabilities known?
Yes, we're starting to develop the test plan. We're starting to develop the concept of test now, but again, those will be made available to you probably about a little more than a month out of the demo, so probably the end of July timeframe.
Did I hear correctly that JCO will provide C2 detection data, including range and relative bearing of drone targets for handheld system operators?
Yes, yes, it will. Yes, you did. That is correct.
Okay. Will RF systems be considered for the handheld dismount system?
Yes. So we did answer that early as well. Yes, the RF systems will be considered for electronic warfare.
Do we need safety approval to fly a drone during the demonstration?
Yes, if you're flying a drone, we will require an additional waiver process that we've got to go through. So again, if your white paper indicates you will have a drone, we'll be requesting that you submit the information needed for that board to get that approval prior to your white paper to oral presentations. Will we be allowed to jam GPS at UMA?
That I can't answer. I can't answer here.
Okay. We'll attempt to get that answer and publish it with the rest of those responses. Can you elaborate on what the RFWP means by no in-flight terminal guidance?
Yeah, so if there is something that is being launched from the ground, we're not looking for it to have any self-guidance, any guidance within a launched vehicle, if there is a launched vehicle. So something like a mortar or shell, something that is launched from the ground, you know, once it is fired, it doesn't have anything to guide it to its terminal target.
Have you determined the topic area for the April 2022 event?
No, the topic areas have not been defined, but they are in consideration right now, and we are in discussion on what those topic areas will be. I'm sure as we move through the summer months, we will be able to share that information with you.
On the handheld solutions, are you interested in a detect, classify only solution, or must each solution also include defeat?
I would say it depends on what capability you're offering. It'll certainly be in consideration. We are looking overall for a defeat capability, but depending on what capability you're offering in the detection, especially for the dismounted operations, if it offers a significant advantage and for the cost, it would certainly be considered.
Will the systems chosen be expected to defeat multiple UAS, such as in a drone swarm situation, during the demonstration?
If you have the capability to attack both multiple drones and swarm situations, please highlight that in your white paper. But typically for the demonstration, we will be mostly focusing on single engagement though, but that doesn't mean, again, as I said earlier, if you have that ability, that could be a discriminator for you and cause us to have significantly more interest in you.
Are semi-autonomous precision targeting systems, such as machine guns and lasers, considered as ground-based aerial denial systems within this RFW?
I believe the answer is yes, but there's again, you can restate the limitations of the range. Adam, do you have any comments on that?
No, again, yeah, I have to go talk to the range a little bit more.
So I would say please submit, and but we need to clarify that with the range and what our limitations might be, so that might restrict what we are able to accept for this upcoming demonstration. But please submit all capabilities.
Will jamming and/or spoofing of GNSS be allowed during the event?
Again, I'll have to ask the range on this one as well.
For the manned portable solutions, regarding the 500-meter safety standoff range, can the actual operators of a handheld device be within that range or no personnel? Otherwise, the handheld device would need to have a range of not less than 500 meters.
So again, your device is going to have to be able to reach out about 500 meters from where it's launched. And if your operator is standing off of backflow from that, but again, the threats will have a turnaround point of no closer than 500 meters to the flight line.
Is there a specific C2 system for the ground-based aerial denial system to integrate with during the exercise, or can we integrate with our own C2?
We will provide you with a specific system, again, as I said, Fad C2.
Please confirm the government is only seeking ground-based launched kinetic defeat of small UAS groups 1 through 3, not a ground-based RF track emitter defeat capability.
That's correct. Yeah, for the ground-based, low-cost ground-based, we're looking for a non-RF.
The previous demonstration was led by the Air Force. Are they leading this demonstration as well?
The Air Force is not leading this demonstration, so services will be participating. in the selection and will be participating in the demonstration. Right now, we don't have specific services to call out for you, but we will have that information later.
If jamming, spoofing of GNSS is not allowed during the event at YPG, can this capability be demonstrated at an alternate location, such as White Sands?
White Sands is also one of our demo locations, and we will be considering this for future events, depending on the focus area. So the short answer is yes.
Previous test events and current test event are focused events only, looking at certain areas in small counter-UAS solutions. Is there any plan going forward to test total solution packages that detect, track, ID, classify, and mitigate these threats?
So the answer is yes. We will be looking for complete systems in the future, but for this event, we're looking for these two specific focus areas.
Is the focus of this event designed to be centered on munitions or directed energy or other defeat hard kill mechanism fired from the ground?
So munitions are certainly being considered. Directed energy, as was stated earlier, we have to check on our limitations for that directed energy. So please make your submission and we will provide you a response letting you know whether we are or are not able to consider.
How many engagements are anticipated during the demo? Number per day or total?
Okay, we're probably looking at a total of about on the order of 15 to 20 unique engagements per system.
Per day?
No, that would be in total.
In total?
Yeah.
Okay.
Price is defined per sortie cost. Would this include the initial procurement cost share?
So again, what we're looking at for a total cost of the system and cost per engagement. So if you have a really expensive command and control system with a really cheap, effectively expendable system that really effector, then that's one thing. Again, if you have on the opposite side a very low cost command and control system with a somewhat more expensive effector, again, we kind of need both those ones.
Regarding focus area 2 on handheld or dismounted solutions, will they be expected to have detection means 2, like that of the focus area 1's ground-based aerial denial?
So I believe the test range is going to be providing detection and information through the C2 interface, and so that will be provided to the demonstrator.
How does this effort relate to systems already selected by the JCO?
Colonel Solay, are you still online?
Yes, I am, Charlie.
All right,
So
sir. There's a question here that says, how does this effort relate to systems already selected by the JCO?
Yeah, sure. Good question. And let me take just a moment to kind of lay out the overall picture that the JCO is trying to put in place here. So as I mentioned at the beginning, there's reasons why the JCO was designated as the executive agent with the RICTO providing the acquisition support. One of the initial efforts that was accomplished was to look at all of the systems that had been fielded over the last many years that we've been trying to address this threat, and set an initial bound around what we believe the joint set of capabilities ought to be for continued R&D investments. And so the initial set was 10 systems. Some of them were C2, some of them were dismounted, some fixed, some mobile, and that became our initial capability set. And then, as Colonel Morgan relayed, we had a JROCM approved for our operational requirement that listed what we wanted to get after with objective and threshold values. And so from the initial set of systems and the JROCM, the requirements division led by Colonel Morgan, now Colonel Pellini at the time, looked at initial focus areas and gaps that we wanted to address and start to lay them out over time. And so as we went into April and as we are going into this one and as we'll continue to go into the next upcoming demonstrations, they will be focused on what the JCO's identified focus areas and gaps are as approved through our governance process that goes up to and including senior leadership within the Department of Defense. And so as we're looking at, that's why, that's the why behind how we're picking the focus areas that we're looking at for each of these demonstrations. And so some of those focus areas will be new capabilities that aren't currently in the list of 10 from our initial set that give us new capabilities that we don't currently have addressed now. In other cases, there'll be systems that improve upon those existing systems as a tech insertion onto one of those platforms. So in this case, for the two topics that we have for September, we do have some current handheld systems that are out there in the force, and so we're looking at what do you have that are maybe improved upon from what we have today, and if we have the right price point and the right performance indicated, then that would be beneficial for the DoD to look at so that we can improve what we have today in the dismounted and handheld category. For the ground-based aerial denial, that's kind of a new area that we're going into, but as you all know, we do have some systems today that have similar capabilities to that focus area. So it'll be looked at in comparison to what we have today and what you're putting in front of us to see if it fills that capability gap that we're looking at. So that kind of lays out the overall process that we're looking at to either introduce new capabilities or improve upon what we have today.
All right, thank you, sir.
Next question is, to confirm, a drone-on-drone or loitering munition solution is not being considered for this event.
That's correct. For this event, so as you know, we did low cost, low collateral for the first demonstration event, and the Air Force, who is our service lead, is going to be taking the results of that event into consideration as they continue to work the production side of this and choosing a production system or systems for low cost, low collateral interceptor. And they will be entertaining other solutions that are out there, not just the ones that are already have already been supported in some way through development by the government, or those that have been in demonstration. But if there are new solutions, they will also be considering new solutions or solutions that have not yet been under consideration. So be on the lookout over the next number of months for that offering. And as we have been doing, we will also, if you send us your contact information, as we have more information on that, we will notify you for everyone who has provided us their information when that becomes available. So, you know, stay alert, stay tuned, and but for this event, we will not be doing loitering munition solutions.
Will target drones utilize encryption of C2 links?
No more so than what is comes standard with their basically their COTS technology. Again, we're going to use COTS drones, but I will not answer specifically which drones that we are going to be using for targets. But again, the encryption, just whatever comes standard with them.
If a vendor has already previously demonstrated their handheld solution to the U.S. Army, Will the vendor be allowed to participate in this RFWP?
I believe the answer is yes. Please provide all white papers. We are all looking at all solutions for this RFWP.
Is the government looking to provide a bake-off with all of the selected solutions? Or will the government assess each solution on its own merit and consider possible future potential of technology?
So as before and as we stated in the RFWP, we do evaluate all solutions against requirements. So, so each solution that is offered, each submission will be evaluated against those requirements and selected accordingly.
Clarifying based off of an earlier comment in the brief, you are looking for an all-in-one interceptor that detects, tracks, identifies, and defeats up to a Group 3 for $15,000. Or will it pair with another radar RF sensor that provides guidance?
Again, for this event, we will provide the radar and the sensor system as well that you can use for queuing.
Yeah, so you can use your own for the ground-based, low-cost ground-based, low-cost ground-based. You can use your own detection if you'd like, but there will also be queuing provided.
Will an RF effector-only solution be considered to the dismounted category?
No, I think that we are open to other options. I think RF effectors are probably expected, but if there are other solutions that are available to as man-packable or handheld. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
If that's all that they do, will you consider them not as that the only thing?
Right.
So yes, if it's RF only, yeah, certainly that will be considered. And as you know, as Colonel Solay had mentioned earlier about the initial systems that we have that were selected, there are solutions that are RF only, and so we are looking at what new capabilities are out there, and they can continue to be RF only or something even more advanced.
The requirement for the weight is clear. Is there a desired size for the handheld?
So I think certainly all swap parameters would be looked at. We did not specify a size, but certainly smaller would be better when you're talking about a man-packable system.
Will audio be included with the slides?
Can we go on mute for a second?
One moment, please.
All right, so as for the last one, we did post the video, so we will make an attempt to post the recording of this session. Again, also, we are going to make an attempt at a transcription of the Q&A session so that we will also post the questions and answers to the best of our ability.
Who is on the panel that selects the companies for the demo?
Again, it's composed of members from the JCO, service partners, and test centers.
I think this is a repeat. Weight requirements, clear, is there desired size for the handheld? I think you answered that one a moment ago.
Okay.
Will all questions and answers also be posted to the beta SAM?
So we just discussed that. So yes, we're going to make an attempt to post those in script form. Otherwise, recording of this session will be available.
Can a lead-based effector gun be considered?
I believe so, yes.
Yes.
Is it expected that vendors will integrate with Fad C2 via a messaging protocol? If so, what is the protocol?
Yes, and right now, probably the easiest way to go is cursor on target, but there are a few others that we can support as well. Again, if you have questions on that, again, that's something we can work with. We'll work with you once we see your white papers and oral presentations.
What is the target price for a ground-based installed system?
So I think we stated that earlier. We were looking for something. So I guess you're looking for the cost of the ground-based system itself. So we did not specify that. Of course, lower cost is better, but that will, of course, be balanced or compared to the overall value or capability of the system. So we did not specify what the ground-based system should cost, just what it would cost per engagement. So again, lower, of course, is always better, but also balanced with capability.
That one's a repeat.
Okay.
Is the operator protection from RF jammer a key issue?
Yeah, as far as safety goes, yes. We need to make sure that again, both the operator and and other personnel on the test site are not going to be negatively impacted.
Are video links allowed to be entered into the RFWP?
Certainly, you can provide us a link in the RFWP, and we will review that.
And during the oral presentations, we certainly allow slides and videos.
Yes.
Yes, during the oral presentations, we are able to view videos, so if you provide those during those presentations, we can view those.
That's it. Repeat. The next one's a repeat. When offering demonstrate only a defeat handheld RF solution, shall we bring, for example, our own detection, DJI aeroscope?
Yeah, so certainly you are welcome to bring your own detectors if you'd like, but as was mentioned earlier for the handhelds, that queuing information can also be provided. Yeah. Okay.
What kind of drones attack scenarios will be tested during the demonstration? How many attacks?
Again, we're going to have both inbound and crossing targets, and probably a total of about between 15 and 20 scenarios for the event.
If a solution could address hundreds of UAS, would the total cost be amortized over the total number being defeated to assess whether the 15,000 per UAS was being met? Asked because you said a laser may be responsive.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes. Yes, we're looking at, you could certainly spread if you're able to handle multiples, the cost per engagement could be spread across.
Do you require to intercept several targets simultaneously in the demonstration?
Again, demonstration will be focused solely on single targets, but if you have the ability to do that, please highlight it in your white papers and if applicable, oral presentations.
Will all questions and answers also be posted to Beta SAM?
Yeah.
The requirement for weight is clear. That's a repeat.
Okay.
Will the threat list be shared prior to the September demonstration event?
We'll have the plans, and as close as I'm going to tell you, it's all going to be group 1s and group 2 UASs.
That's a repeat. Are you looking for a handheld defeat system that will cause the less collateral damage?
So that's not being specified at this time for low collateral, but of course we're always looking for low cost, low collateral. That is one of our priorities overall. So If there is a solution that does offer less collateral, that would be taken into consideration.
If our company has 3 separate systems that qualify within this RFWP, may we submit separate white papers for each system?
So yes, as it is specified in the RFWP, you may submit more than one white paper. So if you have more than one solution, please submit multiple.
Can you clarify the ranges of interception effects desired? Is 500 meters out from the area to be protected a minimum distance?
So we have to be careful about talking about ranges.
Yes. Again, you're going to have detection. We're going to have detection of the system, and I'm going to leave it as significantly far out. And again, the 500 meters is going to be where the 500 meters is going to be. It's a safety requirement, and that's where the system is going to be. The incoming threat is going to turn around and head home. And that's about as much as I can say in an unclassified format.
Please confirm the JROCM 078-20 has all current counter-UAS requirements, and how do we obtain a copy?
Right, so for obtaining a copy of the JROCM, please send us an email to the email that's provided here on this slide, and we will work through providing you a copy. It does contain all the requirements right now through the JCO. Please keep in mind, though, that there are more specific requirements in each service. So what we're looking for this demonstration, though, is JCO requirements. And then, you know, in future demonstrations and as we further down select, move toward production, selection and production, there may be additional requirements placed on the systems.
And the JROCM itself is classified, correct?
Yes, the JROCM is classified. So if, please let us know if you are able to receive a copy, or if you need to come, or if you're cleared to come and view a copy if you're not able to receive a copy. We will work that through with you. And we are also working other solutions for an unclassified version.
For the dismounted solution, is there a preferred form factor, man-pack versus handheld? No.
I don't think there is at this time, no.
What is the planned acquisition strategy for these 2 categories of systems following this demo event?
It's laid out in the RFWP.
Okay.
Because of military export licenses from USA allies that can take 3 months, can you please tell what date in September the demo will start?
So not in this open forum, but as we notify those for oral presentations, that date will be made known to those that are selected.
So I think the question is, if they're selected but they have to get an export license to come,
Yes.
they don't have enough time.
I see.
Yes. You.
One moment, please.
One moment.
We'll send them the date.
Yeah, if
Okay.
you can send that to us, we can provide the date in a somewhat more secure method.
Yep, so please send us an email to the email address on the screen, and we'll answer your question about the specific date.
If selected for handheld systems, we don't need 1 week setup. Shall we really stay 3 weeks in Arizona for the purpose of that event?
We will need time to make sure that we've got your system up and running the week before. Again, the full week, probably not, but again, if you're selected, we can discuss.
Okay.
Is the JROCM the same as the JCO CDD?
Do we have requirements, folks, still online?
Colonel Morgan?
Yeah, this is Dave. I'm still on. What was the question?
The question is the JROCM the same as the JCO CDD?
So there is no JCO CDD. There was an effort early on to develop a JCO CDD, and those efforts were incorporated into the JROCM.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so we will pause to see if there are any additional questions coming in just for a couple of moments before closing. While we're waiting for any questions, additional questions, I would like to ask Colonel Solay, are you still online?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Stand by. One last thing. Okay.
All right, what is the plan for future JCO efforts to continue to grow this family of systems? Will you be doing events specifically to allow vendors to showcase their detect, track, and identification systems in the future?
The short answer is yes. We are looking at all capabilities for counter-UAS and always looking for new and innovative ideas. And I did want to mention before we get to closing here that also, if you have a solution that doesn't appear to fit within the focus areas that we are requesting for the demonstration, that there is an opportunity for you to submit your capability for consideration in the broad agency announcement, which is listed at the toward the end of the RFWP. So please look at that and click on that Beta SAM Gov link and submit anything that you may have that you think is worth consideration, and even if it doesn't fit within the focus areas for this demonstration. All right, so I am not seeing any additional questions being put in the question and answer session. I would like to thank you for your time and all your questions, and please remember to submit any additional questions to the email address there that's listed at the bottom of the current slide, and make sure that you submit your RFWPs by the 28th of May at 1600 to Eastern Daylight Time to Brandon D. Bradley, the email address that's in the middle of that slide. Any other comments from the station?
We have one more question that popped up.
Okay, let's go ahead and answer that.
If our effector must be closer than 500 meters to the drone for deployment, can the effector be placed closer to the RTB point? Is the 500-meter safety point from personnel?
Yes, 500-meter safety point is going to be from personnel, and we'll have to work with the range to allow you to set your system out there. Yes.
Did I hear that we have to engage drones at 500 meters for ground-based?
500 meters is the return point, but yeah, again, if there's a ground-based, we can set the system up outside a little further out, and then pull personnel back.
Okay, so 500 meters is for personnel.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we'll pause again, see if there's any additional questions. All right, not seeing any more questions. Again, please, if you have any additional questions, please submit those to our email address. And with that, I would like to turn to Colonel Solay for any closing remarks.
Hey, thanks, Charlie. And first of all, obviously, everybody that's participating from the industry side, we thank you for your time and interest today. Look forward to your white paper submissions. We learned a lot from going into our first event in April, and we will certainly be applying those lessons learned to keep improving our processes and making these events more and more advantageous for both industry partners and the government. And so thank you for your time today. Charlie, Paul, Kathy, Adam, Colonel Morgan, Dave, everybody that presented or put together the logistics behind making this event happen today, and also getting us to the point where we were able to release the request for white papers last Friday. Thank you all for your time and efforts, and we look forward to teaming with you all for this event and others in the future. So thanks again. Mr. Leland Browning, are you still with us? Any closing comments? Okay, thank you. Mr. Standarber, are you still with us? Any closing comments?
Yeah, I'm still with you. Listen, I think it was great questions, super participation today, and I appreciate everybody calling in and taking time out of your schedule to do that and having patience. So I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, sir. And that's all we have for today. Again, thanks for your participation, and look forward to us posting this additional information for you. And we'll hear from you next when we see your white papers. Thank you.